All right, so sorry guys, I had to cut that video off. There's no pause, or at least none that I have found in QuickTime to just pause the video. But so I had to kind of end it there. So I'll proceed here. What we just did on the last video was we put in our footer, we wrapped a paragraph around this, right? Opening, closing tags, and then we have our opening paragraph here, registration on or use of this site constitutes acceptance of our, then we put a link. And then wrapped inside of that link is the user agreement. Now we need also in here to have the closing link, right? So for the closing link, we're going to put that right after the user agreement. So we need a closing link, a link tag for both of these here. So right after agreement, user agreement here, if you put your cursor right in there, and then go ahead and do your closing link there. All right. So there you go. And then we need a closing tag after this privacy policy. So there's another closing tag there. But also we need to close our paragraph. So remember, we have our opening paragraph here. Well, we don't have any closing paragraph anywhere. So we need to close the link. So left caret / and then that's the A, the link tag, and then the paragraph left caret / and there's your P tag. All right, the last thing, let's make sure that we have a closing footer, which we do. I'm just going to move this up a little here. And I see I got an error. Don't know what that is. When I walked away from this, who knows? I don't know. So I got a closing footer and so on. Well, I'm going to move on and then I'll test it in a bit here and see if I can find where that error is. It's not giving it to me when I roll over it. So I'm not sure, but we'll test when we get done here. All right, so after the closing main then, so we got the footer, we have our closing main, and now what we're going to do is begin our sidebar. So this over here that's going to hold all of our smoothie stuff. So right over here, this whole line here, that's what we're going to do next and finish this up. So I'm going to go, I'll go ahead and save this, index.html. Make sure you write in here on or about line 62, depending on how you have done things will depend. Now this closing main will depend on what line you're on here. Now this closing main is this now, remember? So here's your closing main right here. So that's looking pretty good. We have a couple of things. Notice how this is how your links look now. So you can click on those. Of course, they aren't going to work right now. And we'll clean up some of this when we do our, make this a little closer together and stuff and clean that up when we do our CSS rules here. All right, so where I want you to go, now I've got two red lines. So it says special characters must be escaped. Yeah, I don't see it right off the bat. Tag must be paired with a missing closing paragraph tag. Line 58. I'm not seeing it because I got opening tag here, right? Got an opening link tag, closing link tag, closing there. Yeah, I don't know. Closing paragraph. Got my closing paragraph here. So I don't see it offhand, so we'll move on. So I'm not wasting your time looking at it. And then, down the line here, you guys can kind of research that, I guess, on your own and try and figure out what's going on, right? All right, we're going to do the sidebar next. So I'm going to do the sidebar, we're going to call it aside. So we're going to give it the semantic HTML of aside. So it's left caret aside. And remember we did that as well with the other sidebar there, or the article aside where we put the need more data purple tag in there. So we have to name this different. Now, you could do this with the class of whatever, but I'm just going to show you just a different way of doing it to decipher between the two asides. So I'm going to do aside space, and this time we'll give it an ID, and we'll call the ID secondary content. So I'm just going to say ID, and of course, these ID names, you can call them whatever you want. That's up to you. I could put my favorite in here, cat, and that could be my ID. But if I did that, of course, my whole thing would be cat everywhere. Cat 1, cat 2, cat 3. And that's not telling me exactly what this information is. So I'm going to do secondary content in quotes. So quote, secondary, and then content, and it's going to be a hyphen in here. And again, you can call it whatever you want. You could put in secondary content, not put a hyphen or something. But for the sake of this exercise, we need to make sure we've got a hyphen in there, because that's how I'm going to be writing all of the CSS rules, is with secondary content. All right, I'm going to do a right caret, and then go to my next line here. And what I want to do is copy and paste my sidebar from in here. So here, this is my aside smoothie text. And so that's what I want to pull up here. So let's double click on this aside smoothie text, and we'll do the same thing, copy and paste it. So we've got it here. Select the whole thing, Command A, copy it, Command C, and then just so you don't get confused, go ahead and close this, click on the X and close it, so that you don't have mass confusion up there as to what files you're working off of, okay? So make sure it's on your clipboard, Command C, close it. And then right under here, I'm now on line 63. Go ahead and paste, Command V. And so now we have our new additions, a funky orange, tropical kickback. Look what these look like over here. So let me show you. So we've got new additions. That looks like an H2 tag, right? So you need to think about this. Funky orange, that looks like H3. Tropical kickback is H3. So we're going to go ahead and stylize this whole aside thing in our CSS rules. But in the interim, we need to, again, lay out the HTML. We need to get this all structured and tell this exactly what we want this to be. So the new additions is an H2. So go ahead and click before your end there. Left caret, H2, right caret, and then wrap that new additions in that tag. So go ahead and close that up over here. All right, so H2, new additions, H2. All right, Smoothie World. If you're thinking ahead, you guessed it, it's a paragraph. So let's wrap that in a P tag and then close it over here. The funky orange, remember I said that it was going to be a H3? So let's go ahead and put a H3 in here. So it's left caret, H3, right caret, and then close that tag. After your orange, close the tag, funky orange. This is a paragraph. So left caret, P, right caret, and then close that tag. Tropical kickback, left caret, H3, right caret. Remember I said that looked like a H3 over here, right? It's not as big as the new editions, so H2, H3. All right, close the H3 here. And then this last part is a paragraph. And then close it. All right, so that's basically it. We're going to put one other thing in here. We want to do our image source for the all these pictures. So we're going to go in and insert all these photographs that you see over here, your smoothies here, and then the final one. So after the funky orange, right here, let's go up to the side there after your funky orange. Let's just say insert image, and we're going to get funkyorange.png. So hit your return key. Say insert image. Navigate to your images. Funkyorange.png. Open. All right, so there it is. And we'll stylize it a little bit, you know, with our CSS rules when we get in there. All right, we need also tropical kickback. We need that picture in here. So let's click there in your code, hit return. And then we're going to go in and do the tropical kickback. I'll give everybody a second to get their funky orange in there. I know recording, I maybe go a little fast here because I don't have people saying wait, hang on. That's what the pause button is for. So go up and click pause and then proceed when you get your funky orange in there. All right, go up to insert image. And then go ahead and scroll down to your tropical kickback. All right. And then one last image that we want to put in here is that learnmore.png image. So that's going to go right after this submitted paragraph here. So after you're submitted by the user, blah, 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 right at the end of that paragraph, hit return. All right, and then we'll go ahead and insert the Learn More picture. Let's go up to Insert, Image, and then do your Learn More. So it's right there, alphabetical order, open. All right. Now we just got to make all this look pretty. It kind of looks a little, certainly not like our picture over here. So we got to go in and stylize this now. And then we're done. So let's go ahead, save our index.html and go to your base.css. And inside your base, we're going to scroll down here and let me give you some, I got to find my sheets here and then give you some information here to enter. All right. All right, let's start with footer here. And that's if you scroll all the way bottom, all the way down to the bottom of that base.css and hit your return key. And then what we're going to do is look at this footer here and how we can set that up so it looks more like the footer. Oh, I don't have the picture of the footer in here, but well, you'll see it when we get it set up here. All right, so let's do footer. And what we want to do is focus on, I feel like I'm missing a sheet because I should have a footer with a, oh, here it is. I was missing a sheet. All right, our footer, and actually I'm thinking that maybe, did we put footer up here or not? Oh no, we did that on our 2-column layout. Okay, so again, down at the bottom, very end here, let's put footer, and then left curly brace. And for the footer, we're going to do a few things. We're going to put in a background image and so on, and we're going to stylize that footer. So let's do clear both, because remember when we did our 2-column layout, we did clear both. All right, and then the background image is going to be footer background.jpg. So we can just go up here and say, you know, insert image or background image. So let's do a background image. I'll just have you type this out. It'll probably be easier. So let's say background image. Or we could use the CSS designer, but let's type it out. So it's background hyphen image colon, and then URL, and then in parentheses, and it's going to be images / footer _ background .jpg parentheses semicolon. All right, I had to change a few things I had written wrong here, so I misspelled background, so make sure you spell the whole thing right. All right, so it's in there, but you know, it doesn't look that great because this is all floating over the top here and you can't read it right. We also don't want it repeating, so we're going to come in here, hit your return here and say background hyphen repeat colon no repeat semicolon. So background repeat no repeat. And for those of you that, you know, have trouble with spelling, then use this CSS designer panel that I showed you, right? Because that'll spell it all for you and you don't have to worry about the spelling. All right, hit your return key. We want to give it a width of 100%. So width colon 100% semicolon. All right, and then our height is going to be, and for the footer, you always want to give it some kind of a height. Or you can do an auto if you're putting a picture in there and all, you could do an auto. But let's give it a specific height of 118 pixels, semicolon. And then we'll do a padding top hyphen and that's going to be 10 pixels. All right, so far so good. Notice when we put the padding in, that moved all the text down. That's what the padding does. Remember, padding is interior. If we wanted this part here, the main, to move away from the footer, then we would put that as a margin on the footer. So we would give this, you know, 20 pixels or 30 pixels or something to push this up. if we wanted more space down here. Padding works on the interior of that semantic HTML tag. So that's why this moved this down here. It's on the interior. All right, the next thing we want to do is the footer paragraph. So we're going to do return here and do footer. And what is that? If we're doing the paragraph, what will we be doing? I hope all of you guys are thinking in your head P. All right, left and right curly brace. Hit return. And then this footer is going to give it a margin. So what we're going to do is kind of play with margins and so on to give it the paragraph itself. So remember, this is wrapped in a paragraph. All this text, the copyright smoothie, registration, and so on, that's wrapped in a paragraph tag, right? So what we're going to do is target the actual paragraph and give that some values to help kind of move this over here. So we're going to say the margin, colon, is going to be 10 pixels, space, 0, space, 0, space, 20 pixels, semicolon. And that again is going to kind of move things around here. All right, let's go into the next line here, and we're going to say the width is going to be 280 pixels, semicolon. All right, the next line, we'll just give it a font family. I'll type in, show you how you can kind of make up your own font families. So this is going to be a font hyphen family. And we'll give it specific here. We're going to say Verdana. Oh, I'm sorry, spelled wrong. So Verdana, comma, Geneva, comma, and then if they don't have any of those, it'll be a sans hyphen serif. So I talked to you already about that, so I'm not going to get into it again. But notice again now how this is moving the paragraph around. Now that's awful big, so we're going to change the font size as well. So let's do font hyphen size, colon, and this is going to be 0.689 M, semicolon. All right, and that should do it for that. We have a closing on there. All right, let's save our, I think I just closed everything, didn't I? Oh, it automatically saved it. I lucked out, huh? All right, so save it. Now you see, targeting the actual paragraph inside of the footer, we were able to manipulate this like this so that it designed looks really good. All right, let's do our aside here. I'm going to go through it kind of quick here, and then you guys can play with, I'm going to get the basic properties of this down, and then you guys can kind of play with it as well, taking what you've learned here and then, going from there. Can't find all my sheets. All right, we'll start with the secondary content. Feel like I'm missing a sheet in front of me here. So So because this was an ID, let's move over to the, sorry guys, I'm looking here for my other sheet. I'll hunt it down. Okay, let's start with secondary here. So let's go over to our base.css and then scroll down to the bottom here. So all the way down to the bottom, and we're going to do secondary content. So this is going to be your return key. Now remember that I said whenever you do ID equals something, then your tag starts with, for your style starts with hashtag. So it's hashtag and then secondary hyphen content. And then left and right curly brace. We did call that secondary content, right? I don't know why that didn't pop up. So I'm going to just go back and check a second here. Make sure I... Oh, I see why. So guys, if everybody would go back to your source code, please. So switch back to that. And we didn't close our secondary content tag, or I mean our aside tag here. See, we have our opening aside, but we don't have a closing aside. So if you click at the end of that H3 tropical and then the paragraph, and then let's close our aside. And that's why that didn't show up there. So now we're good. All right. Now let's save that and then go back to our base.css. So that's why that didn't kind of show up here. So that was kind of my concern. It should have popped up. So I knew something wasn't right there. All right. So for secondary content, scroll down to the bottom here. Let's finish this one up. So we're going to do float left. So float. We need, remember, to have it on the left-hand side here. We have the main is on the right. So we need that to float left. And then we need to give it a %. That's why it disappeared, because now it's really fat. And it's just kind of floating down here, see? So we need to give it a specific % on the width. So it's going to be width, colon, 30%, semicolon. All right, the next thing I want to do is give it a background. So let's go ahead to the CSS Designer just to do that quick. You go into the CSS Designer and then go ahead and click on your, make sure secondary content is highlighted. You want to click on Layout. So again, CSS Designer, secondary content, layout. Now you can type this in if you want, that's fine. I'm going to click here and then go to, click on background. And then in background, go ahead and click on the background image path right here. And the image we want is sidebar bg.png. So sidebar bg.png. Say open. And now you see we've got the color going there, but it's repeating. And we don't want that, right? So we want to go in and just have it repeat X and not any other way. So that is, you know, right here. Or you can type it in, background repeat, repeat X. And then the background color, I'm going to give you some numbers for it. So the background hyphen color is going to be hashtag EAB8C3 semicolon. All right, so it's slowly starting to come together, right? All right, now there's some other properties we need to put on here. And trying to find my sheet so I can make sure that I'm giving you everything correctly here. This will give some of you a chance to catch up, huh? Don't see my other secondary page here. All right, here we go. All right, so we need to add some, margins and so on, some simple things kind of to get this all to center. So if you would, at the end of this secondary content, hit your, put your cursor right before the curly brace and then hit return. And we're going to do a couple of secondary contents to kind of clean this whole area up and give it some spacing. So it's going to be hashtag secondary hyphen content space P comma, and then the same thing, secondary content. I'm just going to copy this, put on my clipboard, come over here after my comma and paste it, or you can type it in there again. But it's going to be secondary content H2, so a space and H2, comma, and then secondary content again. I just pasted it back in there because I have it on my clipboard, space H3. And then your left and right curly braces. And open that up. And we're going to give this a margin left of 20 pixels and a margin right of 20 pixels. That is what centers all of this. So that's what keeps it in the center, because we gave this a width of 30%. And what we're telling it is always keep the margin the same on the left and on the right. And so of this paragraph in the H2 and the H3. So all of these we're saying, give this a margin left of 20 pixels and a margin right of 20 pixels. And so that's going to automatically hold this in the center. So margin hyphen left colon 20 pixels semicolon. See how that pushes that over there now? And then margin hyphen right colon 20 pixels. And that'll push it over again. Now we still need to get this down, right? And we don't have our images aren't centered either. So we got to get our images moved over. All right, so that's the next thing. Let's get your cursor right after that. We'll do secondary content again. And again, I have that on my clipboard, so I'm just pasting Command V. That's why for something like this, just make it easy on yourself so you aren't doing a whole bunch of typing here. And we're going to do with the image, IMG. So we haven't done any styles yet, I don't think, with images. I think we did over in the figure caption, but we actually targeted figure. So image, left and right curly brace, And then go ahead and say margin left 20 pixels. So margin hyphen left colon 20 pixels, semicolon. Hit your return key. And then margin hyphen bottom colon 10 pixels, semicolon. All right, so now that has moved all of our pictures into the center here. Now you can play with fudging, maybe even putting in a percent or something. But for the sake of this exercise, so that it's like maybe perfectly centered over here, you could put a right and left and kind of try that and see if that works. But for the most part, this is enough to give it some space at the bottom and to move it over a little bit from the left-hand side. So that works. All right, let's go after that cursor there. Let's hit again. And we're going to do for the secondary content at H2. So again, I'm pasting secondary content, space, H2, and then left and right curly brace. And for the H2, I just want to give it a margin top of 15 pixels to move the top down there. So margin hyphen top colon 15 pixels, semicolon. And there we have it. Isn't it beautiful? So that's your whole layout. I'm going to send this to you, and I'll give some directions and so on. There's a whole bunch of things that you can play with in this to, just test your knowledge that you've learned so far, and how you want to, the little things that maybe you want to change the color here. So play with that, and, play with some of your floats and see what it looks like and so on. I'm also going to give you, the final document there as well. So anyway, have a great day. Do walk through this lesson for today, and I'll be expecting screenshots of your finished product by the end of class today.